One of the more interesting questions in the solar system is whether a huge, ice planet exists in the far reaches of our cosmic neighborhood, much beyond Neptune's orbit. Since it was originally suggested, this hypothetical world, called Planet 9 by some of the scientists looking for it, has sparked debate. It's difficult to find anything if you don't know where to search, and it's even more difficult if you're not sure it exists in the first place. The faraway world is estimated to be 10 times the mass of Earth and orbits just outside our telescope's reach. The object was postulated to explain the strange orbits of objects near our star system's edge. It has, however, never been directly spotted and is a source of debate among astronomers, with many believing that it does not exist. So, what is Planet 9 exactly? And does this planet really exist? Keep on watching to find out more. So, what is Planet 9? Planet 9, often known as Planet X, is a large, hypothetical planet orbiting far beyond Pluto in an elliptical orbit that would take it 10,000 to 20,000 Earth years to complete one round around the Sun. Though no direct sightings of an object that fits the description of Planet 9 have ever been made, the gravitational attraction of such a planet might explain unusual patterns in the orbits of other, smaller objects in the cold outer regions of the solar system. There are 8 planets in our solar system. Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet in 2006, joining Eris, Sedna, Quaoar, Ceres, and perhaps many more tiny worlds in the solar system. These are roughly characterized as planets that circle the Sun but are not large enough to gravitationally dominate their environs using gravity. However, astronomers wonder whether there isn't a previously undiscovered 9th planet hiding in the solar system's furthest reaches, potentially in the massive Oort cloud of debris that begins hundreds of astronomical units from the Sun and stretches outward, which is around 93 million miles away. Recent data suggest that the orbital characteristics of several tiny things beyond Neptune appear to behave as if they had been impacted by the gravity of a big object in the outer solar system, reinforcing the idea that there may be a 9th massive planet in the outer solar system. Despite observational flaws and statistical limitations, these findings have reignited interest in the possibility of an extraterrestrial presence. Planet 9 would be roughly 5 to 10 Earth masses in size and orbit the Sun at a distance of 400 to 800 astronomical units, according to estimations. Because of its faintness, a planet at this distance would be extremely difficult to discover in regular optical sky searches, even with telescopes like Pan-STARRS and LSST. Most solar system objects were discovered using reflected sunlight, but the sunlight they receive diminishes due to the inverse square law for electromagnetic radiation, which states that measured light intensity is dependent on the distance squared from the source of radiation. Furthermore, the reflected portion travels back to Earth's telescopes and diminishes by a similar factor. Mike Brown, an astronomer at the California Institute of Technology said, "I think it's within a year or two from being found. I've made that statement every year for the past 5 years. I am super optimistic." Brown's most recent calculations of Planet 9's gravitational antics, which he did with Caltech colleague Konstantin Batygin, reveal that the world is around 6 times the mass of Earth, implying that it is either a rocky super-Earth or a gaseous mini-Neptune. If found, the planet would be the solar system's first huge world since 1846, when astronomers reported the finding of Neptune, an ice giant whose presence was predicted by its gravitational pull on Uranus. Skeptics have suggested that the gravitational evidence indicating Planet 9's presence are just observational artifacts throughout the years. Critics claim that the apparent grouping of distant objects' orbits is the product of natural biases in sky surveys, rather than the effect of an unseen universe. Renu Malhotra, who is agnostic regarding the planet's existence and is calculating its position on her own, said, "Most of these objects are discovered with large telescopes that have limited time for surveys of the outer solar system, and they look in the places they can look, which depends on where they are located. Only a few of these far objects have been detected so far, and without a more full census of the outer solar system, it's difficult to know whether these little ice objects are actually acting strangely or are distributed randomly." Brown and Batygin used their updated estimates to create a treasure map that indicates an area of sky where Planet 9 is most likely to be located in the meantime, to help researchers. Brown and Batygin originally suggested Planet 9 in 2016, but they are far from the first to speculate that an unknown world hides in the solar system's outback. Astronomers have speculated about such a planet for over a century, incorrectly assuming that something large was disrupting Neptune's orbit. Planet X was named by astronomer Percival Lowell, who was so determined to discover it that following his death in 1916, he left $1 million to continue the search. Planet 9's existence was predicted by the Caltech researchers based on how it seems to disturb a collection of Kuiper belt objects. Beyond Neptune, there is a population of tiny, frozen planets with extreme orbits that carry them at least 150 times further from the Sun than the Earth's orbit. Planet 9 has never been seen, but scientists at Caltech suggested it in 2016 to explain the unstable orbits of objects in the Kuiper Belt, a region beyond Neptune populated with dwarf planets and frozen debris. The gravitational attraction of an unknown ninth planet in the solar system was assumed to be tugging the space bodies into strange paths, according to scientists. However, not everyone is convinced, with some studies claiming that the orbits are caused by other astronomical causes. A new research undertaken by astronomers at the University of Cambridge showed that the perplexing motions may be explained much more simply. The team argued that a massive disk of ice debris in the Kuiper Belt is warping the orbits. The disk is 10 times the mass of Earth, and it is made up of material from the solar system's birth that has long ago frozen over. The orbits of Kuiper Belt objects, also known as trans-Neptunian objects, are explained by such a disk, according to computer simulations conducted by the scientists. A tiny black hole or a small ball of ultra-concentrated dark matter, according to other research, might be the source of the erratic orbits. According to astronomers, this hypothetical planet might be interacting with the orbits of Kuiper Belt objects. The orbits of the KBOs furthest from us tilt in a certain way, indicating that an object is disrupting their orbits with its gravitational field. So, does Planet 9 really exist? Astronomers are divided on the subject. Planet 9 is still a hypothetical world, no one has ever seen it. That isn't to say that scientists aren't looking for it. Batygin and Brown began by looking over past sky maps in quest of their unknown world. Direct detection of a ninth planet would be the first finding of a new planet circling the solar system in 2 centuries, despite the fact that its existence has to be proven. However, detecting it has been difficult so far. Unfortunately, in the years after the discovery of a ninth planet made headlines, scientists have yet to get a photograph of it. Which isn't too concerning, at least for the time being. If Planet 9 exists, it is small and far away, making it difficult to detect. Brown believes the planet will be discovered before fancy, next-generation telescopes are available. Perhaps the sneaky world can be found in data that scientists currently have. Brown said, "I would be willing to bet, and I often lose bets, that images of it exist in surveys that we already have. I don't think anything has been discovered that was not later found in existing data, starting with Uranus, all the way to Pluto and Eris. For the time being, our solar system is an 8-planet family. Even if no evidence of a ninth member is discovered, our investigation might provide enough information about our galactic neighborhood to make the search worthwhile." Furthermore, it's difficult to reconcile the presence of a ninth planet with the present understanding of the solar system's creation. Of course, astronomers can seek to implement a ninth planet, for example, by claiming that it's an ejected failed core of a planet or a caught rogue exoplanet, but the more complicated the scenario becomes, the more difficult it is to accept. The astronomy community will not be entirely convinced by the errant movements of a handful of ice balls in the outer solar system unless there is an image of the planet. As a result, the quest for a new planet continues for the time being. So, what do you think about Planet 9? And do you think Planet 9 does really exist? Let us know in the comments.